I'm going to continue with the theme of the emotions and how important the way our minds work is to leadership, because that's what we're all confronting here, the quest to be better leaders. And one of the great leaders of the past was Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister, who as a young man became Prime Minister and served for 10 or 12 years, 10 years I believe. And at the end of his term he anointed really, and the man that moved into his chair as the next Prime Minister was Gordon Brown. Now when Tony Blair came to write his memoirs, he reflected on Gordon Brown's contribution to being Prime Minister and said that there was one thing that as a leader that he believed that Gordon Brown struggled with, and that was the fact that he had very high intellectual ability, Mr. Brown, but he had a startling zero emotional intelligence. In other words, he wasn't aware of his own impact as a leader that he was having on his colleagues, and his colleagues really suffered from that, and then the political situation deteriorated and the rest is history. So the researchers find that very interesting, that a leader may not be aware of the impact that they can have on their team and their senior people. And it happens every day in workplaces that I'm involved in, where a leader can walk into a room and meet the team, and if they've got a smile on their face and they're very happy and very relaxed, then people will relax and they will feel much more inclined to share some of their issues. But if the leader walks into the room and has got a scowl on their face and is very upset and very angry, then you can observe it, I'm sure, in workplaces around the world, that people become very nervous and they become very withdrawn. And that's what they call the open loop limbic system in psychology. It's the fact that you can transmit your anger or disappointment or frustration to another person, and that other person will be affected physically by pulse rate or blood pressure, but certainly by the way they react in a difficult conversation. So what I'd really encourage you to do is to think about the impact that you have on people when you walk into an important meeting. If it's a serious meeting, then we obviously need to be serious, but just be aware, I think is the word. Be aware that people's emotions are affected by someone else's emotions. And that's a very powerful piece of knowledge that you have, because certainly when you want people to open up and relax and be innovative and be creative and come up with their ideas, then the early part of a meeting, or in fact any stage of a meeting, the stage needs to be set so that can occur. So it's very important, I think, to not only have the intellectual capacity to deal with complex things in project teams or in engineering solutions, but also to have the emotional intelligence to know that you have very capable people and very competent people, but they may not give of their best.